What's up, FA Nation? Welcome to the NBA live stream here, NBA DFS live stream. You got Sean Mitchell here with Mr. New Baby and Babyface, Mr. James Grande. How you doing today, James?
Good, man. Excited to talk some hoops. Excited to be back in to the NBA season. We're 2/3 of the way down. It's so weird. 2/3 of the way down, and that's our All-Star break. But excited to be back, Sean. Excited to be back.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like the first half just went so fast. I mean, so fast. So, of course, now it is Thursday. We are back with a 6-game slate. Have a couple good games on the slate. Already got some news. Obviously, we're going to have to update a little bit, but already got some good news. There's tons of value on the slate today. I know you were the guy on the playbook. Obviously, along with all the other good content, the value vault, starting five, all that good stuff is out there. You just put out the lineups, I'm pretty sure of.
Yep.
James, how do you feel about the slate tonight? I know you got a lot up top. You got some good content. 25 players in the playbook. How you feeling about the slate right now?
I feel good about it. It's something that I've talked kind of ad nauseum about today. It's really interesting how lack of injuries still so much value, because it's not those two things usually connect and correlate and work together, but maybe they're just testing some new things out. Maybe they're trying to make it easier roster. Who knows? But there is enough value to do literally whatever you want on tonight's slate in any type of roster construction you'd like. So I'm ready to jump in. I think it's a fun little 6-gamer with a lot of big totals, some potential blowouts. I mean, we really got it all tonight, Sean.
Yeah, good totals. I know we got a couple over in the 230 range. Obviously, the Rockets Warriors has climbed to around the 234 range. We got the Bucks and the Pistons, obviously, still there around 223. Nets and Sixers, Hornets, Bulls, obviously the Kings and the Grizz have actually gone up a little bit too. So, anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into this thing. We'll go ahead and hop right into the point guard spot. So in the playbook, you have two, which I know the Ben Simmons news now is got to have changed, your outlook on the point guard spot. So, of course, up top you have Russell Westbrook. You had Ben Simmons. And then, you kind of got a couple of guys up top that I really want you to kind of dissect for us now since the Ben Simmons news. So you do have Trae Young and you do have De'Aaron Fox. You also have Devontae Graham and Spencer Dinwiddie. So I want you to kind of break down how you're going to play these 5 guys now. Which ones are GPP? Which ones are cash? How are you feeling the strongest about these 5 guys at the top of your playbook?
So Westbrook is definitely the top spend up. I think that's without question. You and I are both kind of in agreement. We're leaning Westbrook's way over Harden if we were to pick between the two. I think you do have to take hop on one side of the fence there. Right. Westbrook 50 plus fantasy points, 9 of 10. So that's my top spendo. Obviously I like Simmons. I mentioned it even in the little Trae Young blurb up top. I'm scared kind of by Miami's defense. I mean, that's a really, really good defensive team who got better, adding the likes of Iguodala and Crowder who can guard guys on the perimeter. Obviously Trae Young's a different breed, but he's looked bad, and yes, there was an injury in one of those games against Miami, but he didn't look good in that first game either. Only 21 actual points, and for a guy scoring 30 actual. So just tournaments, obviously he can break a slate. We know that, but I would strictly use Trae Young in tournaments. You and I have kind of been going back and forth today about De'Aaron Fox. It's not that I don't like De'Aaron Fox, because I think De'Aaron Fox has probably as much upside as almost anyone at this point guard spot. And I think that's clear. I mean, he's gone for 60, 70 on occasions this year in the past. And that's the proof is in the pudding. Memphis has been better defensively. And I think John Morant's length gives a lot of people problems. I think that's been a sneaky part of their defensive improvements. The plus side is the price. Obviously, the plus side is the pace, because the pace of this game is going to be tremendous for Fox and the Kings, who are an improved team in terms of pace in their own regard. So, I mean, this game should just be back and forth. And he has the previous success against Memphis, 48 fantasy points across 2 games. I don't like his volatility. We've seen him teeter between 20 and 30 and 40, 50, back down to 20. So, for me, that leans towards GPPs for me. When we're talking about Devontae Graham, I think Devontae Graham goes completely overlooked. The ownership kind of is backing that notion. And the Bulls have actually, no coincidence here, since losing Chris Dunn, have been the second worst team at defending the point guard position. And I think that's going really largely overlooked, considering Graham has played 100% of his floor time, according to Basketball Reference, at the point guard spot. I think Graham, coming into this game with 4 straight games of 39 plus fantasy points, is an elite tournament play. Wouldn't go cash, because I think guys like Dinwiddie are a better option in cash games. I think, now no Ben Simmons, he doesn't have to really deal with the length there, whoever he's going to be guarded by. And we know Dinwiddie's been fantastic. The price tag is great. And no Kyrie Irving, huge usage rate, huge fantasy point per minute. And then John Morant, I am probably a little more bullish on Morant than you are. I know you don't like him on the road, and I get that. The numbers have backed your point of view on him being worse on the road. But, Sacramento is dreadful against the point guard spot. And just defensively in general, I mean, that team is a real dumpster fire right now. We've attacked De'Aaron Fox since he's entered this league, and I don't think we should stop. I mean, Morant probably had 2 of his best basketball games as a professional headed into the All-Star break. And I don't know if you saw the interview, like the interview that he gave about leaving the All-Star game after the skills challenge, just like looked like there was a fire lit under his ass and he's going to smash the rest of the year. And I know that's a narrative and we shouldn't be
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, he literally said, I'm not going to stay at this event unless I'm in the game. Like, that just proves to me that this man is out on a mission. And the last 2 games leading into the break says, like, yo, why aren't I included in this game? So I really love Morant tonight. So I would probably play Morant, Dinwiddie, and Cash if we were talking about that, and Fox and Trae Young in tournaments.
Okay. Devontae Graham, what is he? GPP or tournament?
GPPs for sure, Devontae Graham. And no one's going to play him. So if you want to just pivot off all those guys and play Graham, who probably has 50-point upside, I think that's perfectly fine as well. And we potentially have lost Sean. With the loss of Sean, though, we could just break down the rest of the playbook. At the point guard position, I do have Kobe White written down. I like White pretty much in tournaments. I'd actually go as far as to say I'd like White in cash games, just because the price and the fact that he's playing so many minutes, 25 plus in 7 of 10 games. Tomas Satoransky is a pivot. I don't think anyone's going to play him. Derrick Rose is probably the interesting option at point guard at just 5.5K over on FanDuel, 5.9 on DraftKings. There's going to be, we're not sure about the restriction, and the restriction could obviously come. And if there is a restriction on Derrick Rose, then I'm a little more nervous than I would be if there isn't. But I could definitely get behind some Derrick Rose pretty much in all formats. I think it's a price point play. At shooting guard, we mentioned James Harden. You could definitely play James Harden in any format you would like. I prefer tournaments. I think it's a great matchup. I prefer Westbrook in this same matchup. Jimmy Butler is another guy I'm interested in. I think he is going to be one of the best plays of the slate. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's averaging 48 DraftKings points against Atlanta this year in 3 meetings, shooting 38% from the field. So I think Jimmy Butler, an elite play all formats. I have no problem playing him in any format. Zach LaVine, contrarian tournament play. No one's going to play him. That game has the lowest total on the board. So if you want to go there, you can play LaVine. We've seen 60-point upside from him. Some other guys, Buddy Hield, tournaments only. That team is a mess. I mentioned when we were talking about De'Aaron Fox. But you could play Hield. I think Hield is perfectly fine for tournaments. And then some value. I think Jordan Poole, Bruce Brown, Josh Richardson, Svi Mihailuk, Damian Lee. I think there is a ton of value here at the shooting guard position. Richardson is our priority, especially without Ben Simmons. I do not see a scenario you fade him at 4.2K after playing a full complement of minutes last week, the game prior to the All-Star break, 32 minutes, 33 fantasy points. I don't see a way around not playing Richardson. I also don't see a way you don't play Brown on FanDuel at $3,800. Brown, an elite value option over there, could play a little backup point guard with the departure of Reggie Jackson. Dwayne Casey did come out and say he doesn't really want him to play point guard, but there will be situations. Listen, Brown is much better options than Jordan Bone or Brandon Knight at this point, so love Bruce Brown over there. Let's move over to small forward, Giannis. What to do with Giannis, who could go for 80. if this game stays close. He's averaged 1.8 fantasy points per minute without Giannis this year, in games against Detroit. But can we trust him to stay? Can we trust this game to stay close? That is the ultimate question. Has averaged 1.8 fantasy points per minute. GPPs only. Do some game stacks. If you want to play Giannis, game stack. Play Derrick Rose. Play Christian Wood. Get creative with that game. Andrew Wiggins profiles as a really good play. I think he's going to be a lot more popular on FanDuel considering position scarcity over there. Small forward is a dumpster fire. A lot of people are going to be pivoting off Wiggins and Giannis to Tobias Harris, and deservedly so. 40-plus fantasy points in 3 of 4 games. I think Harris is an excellent play, especially for cash games. I don't really see a scenario you fade him in cash. You can fade him in tournaments. Philly's probably my favorite team stack tonight. Miami and Philly probably 1A, 1B. Tobias Harris, cash games, tournaments, whatever you would like. Jay Crowder, interesting value option for me tonight. We're trying to figure out why he only saw the minutes he saw last game after seeing 30-plus in back-to-back games. But I could see another scenario where he plays 30. I think it's a great stack, Miami, playing him being Crowder with Jimmy Butler, with Bam Adebayo. You could literally start your lineup with like 130 points potentially just between those 3 guys, and that'd be great. So I love Crowder at the value tier. Other guys, Daniel House, I have written up top. I think he could be in play. Langston Galloway, a shooting guard I forgot to mention, and Markieff Morris, who also on this Pistons team is a small forward on FanDuel, power forward center option on DK. I think Markieff could be an interesting value if that game stays close. Shaq Harrison would be the ultimate value if he's starting. We don't have official word on that lineup. Daniel Gafford will be coming off the bench for Chicago, which is something that we were kind of curious as to who they would start. With Gafford coming off the bench, kind of feels to me that Shaq Harrison is the only remaining option to start here. They could potentially go small and play someone like Ryan Arcidiacono or Kobe White next to Tomas Satoransky and Levine. I don't think that's a likely scenario. I could see Harrison starting. He started 4 games already this year, averaging 7, 4, 3, and over a steal. Min salary and DK, it's pretty hard to ignore. Moving over to power forward, Christian Wood, I think I mentioned the correlation between Giannis and the rest of the Pistons. I think Wood is kind of a GPP option here, just considering, and it looks like the man, the myth, the legend, Sean Mitchell has returned. His dog bit his power cord. He was messaging me. Homework. Yep. Ate the homework. I just kind of flew through the playbook, and I am
power forward. So
I got to power forward. Literally the start of power forward. I think
power forward is really bad tonight.
Power forward is dreadful.
It is awful. I know you were talking about Christian Wood. Great spot. Do you have any worry about the big spread for Milwaukee?
Yes, and it's something I said when I was talking about, pretty much because I have mostly Pistons written up and Giannis. And right. I think that what you do with someone like Christian Wood is you literally pair him with Giannis in a tournament, and you hope that game stays close. Because if that game stays close, Christian Wood is obviously a reason. And if that game stays close, Giannis is averaging 1.8 fantasy points per minute against them. So he's going to go for 80. Christian Wood's going to go for 50. And then your lineup starts with 130 points. And, you win a lot of money with that. So I think Wood is specifically tournaments. And I'm not going to play him as naked. I'm going to play him with Giannis or with Rose and Giannis. Or with,
some way, mini stacks.
Right. Just mini stacks all over the place. You could literally play, just not naked. I think the next couple guys in Covington and Green are probably going to be most everyone's 2 guys that they use, especially Covington.
Is projected to be quite the high owned at the moment.
The price is criminal at 5.5K. So, and he's back to playing, Rob Covington-esque minutes when he was the latter stages of his Philly career into the early stages of his Minnesota career. When 35 and 38 minutes the last 2 games, it's very hard to ignore. And then Green in this, the highest spread on the board, the pace of this game, it's very hard to ignore those type of players. Daniel Gafford is coming off the bench, is power forward eligible on FanDuel. It's something that we've kind of been speculating who's going to start for Chicago.
Sure.
Other than that, like at power forward, I mean, like.
So you're going to go Green for GPPs, obviously. One meeting with Draymond, of course, against the Rockets already this season. Had 20 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. So had pretty good numbers. I know you have Markieff Morris down here, of course, another Piston. They are only dressing, 12 folks tonight?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's kind of hard to not play some Pistons. Obviously, if we know if they get behind, they're going to have to play. So, like I said, Rob Cove looks like he's the clear-cut go-to for mostly tonight. Draymond Green, definitely GPPs, and then, of course, you have Markieff. So, you want to move right on over to the center spot where I know you're a big fan of Joel Embiid tonight. I don't blame you. It is the Nets. They have not been that great. And then your next person is Valanciunas. So kind of talk about how much more you like Joel Embiid tonight, other than your I know you have Bam Adebayo as well at 7.8 and 8.5. So talk about kind of your top spin up here at the center spot.
So I just quickly let me just loop to Bam because he is power forward on FanDuel. If you look at that ownership correlation or discrepancy, he's the other guy you use in cash on FanDuel and at power forward. Like you don't use, like you mentioned, Draymond is your GPP guy. Right. Bam is the guy you play in cash on FanDuel because you can play him at power forward. So now you can just plug and play both him and Embiid. But yeah, I mean it's not only we have no Ben Simmons, who has actually picked up the pace scoring. I mean, we get a 4% usage bump with Embiid. We get a 1.6 fantasy point per minute output from Embiid, 36% usage rate, and then we compart that with the fact that he's $9,000 for a guy that we've seen upwards of 10K all year. And Brooklyn is the third worst defense in DVP against centers. I mean, it's gonna be a massacre for Embiid. I would honestly be shocked if we don't get at least 50, like a floor of 50. Right. It wouldn't shock me to see like 35 into the half, just smashing everything in sight. So it's definitely Embiid for me, and I think Bam would be number 2 for me. J-Val for tournaments for sure. Look, there is a distinct advantage when we talk about Valanciunas versus Sacramento front court. Harry Giles is too small in terms of like body size. He may be 6'10", but he is skinny as heck, and J-Val is going to destroy him down there. We're talking about possibly Nemanja Bjelica playing center against Valanciunas. Like, no chance. And then Jabari Parker returns, which, oh my God, if they play Jabari Parker at center, I mean, we could get 20 against Jabari Parker, Sean.
Right.
So those 3 really stand out at the top tier. And then I think look, I'm not going to lie. The 2 guys that I have underneath of them looking at ownership, because I think most of the ownership honestly goes Embiid
to the top. Right. Yeah.
Looking at DeAndre Jordan and Dwayne Dedmon's ownership percentages makes me lick my chops, because
even Valanciunas is
even Valanciunas.
That's what I was about to ask. I mean, the way you just talked about Val, I mean, you almost made a believer out of me, So
almost.
Yeah, almost. I mean,
almost got him.
It just seems like that game is gonna. I hate to say it's gonna go under the radar, but for almost a game with a 230 total and a really close spread.
Right.
I mean, there's some really, some heavy hitters in that game. So, yeah, and to be flat out honest, yeah, Val kind of, I think everybody, just like you mentioned, gravitates to the Bam and to Joel. And, yeah, of course, going down here at your bottom, you have DeAndre Jordan, who has had back-to-back 40-plus road games over his last 3 games. And then Dwayne Dedmon, of course, who is getting all the run without Clint Capella. Clint Capella is still out. One more guy, no Marquise Chris. No Marquise Chris tonight?
Okay, so John and I had this discussion on the pod last night, and I know and we know that Steve Kerr loves Kevon Looney. He's been very adamant about Kevon Looney throughout the years, about how much he's their anchor of their defense and yada, 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 more than Draymond, who, is their defensive stopper. Do I think Kevon Looney comes out and plays 25 minutes? No, I don't. But I also think that Kevon Looney playing 15 minutes impacts Chris enough to where it kind of scares me off at his price. Now, I get the production. There's a little narrative here, like in terms of revenge against Houston. Wow. Look, it's something that John and I did a lot last night, where we took the name and we X'd out and then looked at the production. And it's something that, I think all of us DFS players sometimes fall guilty of doing, where you see Marquise Chris, you're like, no way I'm going to pay over 6K. No way. But, I mean, the production has been warranted, but there also hasn't been a healthy Kevon Looney or healthy-ish Kevon Looney to really steal minutes away. That's my only...
Yes. Do you think Kevon plays some 4, of course, with Draymond being the point guard, slotted now, being basically starting at the point guard spot? Do you feel like Kevon sees time at the 4? Because they literally, other than Eric Paschal, they really don't have, I mean, of course, Draymond, but, with him playing the 4 and the point guard spot, do you feel like Kevon could play some of the 4 and leaving Chris to basically play his regular minutes?
So that's another debate, because they've actually now inserted Jordan Poole into the starting lineup, and Jordan Poole has been the de facto point guard the last 2 games, playing 30-plus minutes. So,
sure.
Yes, I could see Looney playing the 4, and I mean, it's not like they didn't do that last year at times with DeMarcus Cousins and when he was on the roster, and they've done it in years past as well. I just think that this team, they want Draymond not to play point guard, and that's why they keep trying these weird lineups out where they're starting D'Angelo Russell at point guard. Now they're starting Jordan Poole at point guard. You don't need, Draymond is the de facto point guard offensively always. He just is, right? Whether or not he's
playing ball handlers either way.
Right. Even when Curry's on the floor, I mean, think about Draymond at the top of the key and Curry and Clay are coming off screens. It's always Draymond kind of initiating the offense. But defensively, Looney is just the guy for them. And if maybe because this matchup plays more into Chris, he's more athletic, he can get out to shooters, which is what Houston's, bread and butter is. I could see Chris playing the 25 minutes, and that's why I'm not going to completely axe him off my player pool. But I just prefer the other guys down here at the value tier. Really, and again, GPPs, sure, completely fine with Chris. But I am slightly worried with Steve Kerr's infatuation for Kevon Looney that hurts.
Yeah, of course. Need we mention that, Houston's been running small with PJ Tucker. So that definitely could, it could definitely be a scenario. So totally fine with that. Totally understand your point of view on that. I know Chris's name has been floating around a lot today. So I'm totally fine with that. Any final thoughts, James?
I do. And I want to quickly go on a rant about the Pistons starting lineup tonight, Sean. And here's the Pistons starting lineup, and I want you to listen closely and see who is excluded from this starting lineup. Derrick Rose is the starting point guard. Bruce Brown is the starting shooting guard. Tony Snell is the starting small forward. Sekou Doumbouya is the starting power forward. Thon Maker is the starting center. Who is excluded from that starting lineup?
That would be Christian Wood.
What is Dwayne Casey thinking not starting Christian Wood against the league's best team? And he's been dominating.
Are they wanting him to play backup center now? Since Rose is back and they can actually run. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess he's putting a lot of stock in Doumbouya. I'm not really sure. I guess he wants to have kind of a full rotation of having, Markieff at the 4, Wood at the 5. That's my guess. Have a full second unit that's the only thing that I can really think of. I mean, the guy's been totally smashing since he was starting right before the break. I mean, was absolutely smashing. So, I'll be honest. I was on Wood, but right now at this point, there's definitely going to be a pivot.
Not starting. He's not. It's not even from a chief.
Now, what do you even project his minutes will be with him not starting? Right? I mean, can you expect him to play 35 minutes? Probably not. There's probably no way he's playing 35 minutes now.
I guess, but you could also. Does he now get the blowout run? Is Christian Wood now the guy who gets all the blowout run, and now he's actually playing 35 minutes, and he goes for 70 because he's going up against Robin Lopez and Marvin Williams and Ersan Ilyasova.
Doesn't scare you that he's not starting. Put it that
Yes,
way. I know
because
you
the
got a lot of
price.
stock. I know you got a lot of stock in Wood tonight. So I just want you to give it to it. It does scare you. So are you pivoting, or are you going to keep some shares and probably play just tournaments?
I think it's still the same scenario that you play him in only Giannis lineups. Like you just correlate the two, and in any other situation, I mean, I already said I wouldn't play him naked. Like I wouldn't play him by himself. Now I'm not even a shot. Yeah, so you just play him in like a Rose Brown, Giannis Wood stack, and just hope that game can stay close and hit the over.
Sure. All right. Well, we have 20 minutes till lock. Of course, we'll be in the subscriber chat. All the content has already been put out. Any final thoughts other than a rant?
No. Some lineup updates will be coming shortly. Just keep an eye out.
Monitor as much as you can. Stay in the chat. We will make sure that you guys get all the information you need for tonight. And good luck.